It's time for the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. And now, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed combat sports show champion of the world, Flash Knockdown!
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me on episode 11 of Flash Knockdown with my guest and the Cage Warriors Junior Bantamweight Champion and the reigning, defending UKFC Featherweight Champion, Liam McCraken. Welcome to the show, Liam.
All right, mate. How are we?
I'm very well, my man. Very well. So we're roughly 3 weeks out from your next fight. I know you're in the middle of your next training camp. So I really do appreciate you making the time today.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you. And on that note, how is the training camp going, Liam?
Nice. This is the most I've enjoyed the camp. Obviously going up a weight. So I always enjoyed the training part of it, but literally I'm going to start a diet, and yeah. So I'm eating good, but I'm eating a lot. So it's been nice. I'm enjoying it. So it's going good as well. Training's going well. Looking forward to it. 3 weeks today it is. So
brilliant.
Ready.
Well, I should have called it Champ Camp.
It is Champ Camp. Yeah, Champ Camp.
That's Champ Camp. Sorry, my bad. Champ Camp. Done though. Love that. So could you give the viewers an overview of your MMA career, the gym you represent, and how people can find you online, please, Liam?
Yeah, so I fight out of Frye in Liverpool. I've had 11 fights now, got a record of 8-3. I still say it should be 10-1. It should be. Got 2 split decision losses and then 1 loss to an armbar. So 8-3 at the minute. If you want to find me on Instagram, I don't really use nothing else, to be honest, just really Instagram. It's Liam McCraken01.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Liam. Short and sweet, just like your fights.
No, that's got the next few ones, hopefully.
So thanks again for that, Liam. And now it's time for that part of the show that I like to call Flash Choices. For first-time viewers, I will ask Liam 10 questions with 2 possible answers. And Liam, very simply, you choose the one that best suits in a flash. Got it, bro?
Got it. Let's go.
All right, brother. Let's go, my man. So first one, Liam. Liverpool Echo Arena or Liverpool Olympia?
I'm the cock of the Olympia already, so I'll go with the Echoes. Sounds to get bigger.
Okay, fantastic. Body slam or body punch? Body slam. Standard. Air miles.
Yeah, it's all about that.
I've seen a few of them. Gi or no gi?
No gi all day.
So imagine this now, Liam. It's your birthday. Who do you choose to have on the decks? Slaney or Goodwin?
Definitely, it's got to be Goodwin.
It's got to be Goodwin, yeah?
Goodwin.
Okay. The 1st of December 2018 or the 7th of December 2019?
7th of December. One of the best days of my life, though.
And what's the significance of that date, Liam?
That was when I won my UKFC title. They the fight that, so I fought that day.
Push up or pull up?
Either. Push up.
Which one?
Push up. Push up.
Push up. Push up. Okay. Liam Smith or Rob McCraken?
I'm not keeping with the family and I go Rob McCraken. I'm not too big on boxing though.
Fair enough. Guillotine choke or armbar?
Guillotine.
Guillotine. You've won twice by guillotine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a guillotine.
IBJJF Mundial champion or ADCC champion?
ADCC.
No gi.
Yeah, that's all about that. I won the nationals when I was a kid, the ADCC nationals when I was a kid as well. So what I want to do is keep the competing jits up as well. So definitely wouldn't mind doing something like that when I'm older.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And then the final one, then Liam, Marlon Moraes or Marlon Chito Vera?
Marlon Jones, I thought you were going to say. I said Marlon Jones.
I was gonna say there's a third Marlon, also a bantamweight, Marlon Jones, your teammate.
Marlon Jones all day.
Marlon Jones. So tell us a little bit about Marlon's progress in the amateurs.
Yeah, well, me and Marlon have come up together. Like, always been like at the start when we were young, there's like a little competitive rivalry, but we've got past that now. Now we're like, he's my main training partner, so we've been like through literally all our amateur career together. It's gonna be the same going through to the pros. Both at like a very similar level, always pushing each other. Obviously, I'm a bit bigger now as well, but he's still like, I think me and him are the best amateurs in this country now. So it's good to have both of us pushing each other. Like,
yeah, I would agree with that. So that's the end of that then, Liam. How did you find that?
I think I've done all right there.
Good fun?
Yeah, good fun.
Okay, so let's now flash back. And Liam, if you could share with the viewers what your first recollection of martial arts was, please.
Yeah, I was never interested in it till I was about 9 or 10. I used to play footy. I was never an athletic kid, even till probably like last year. I was never athletic, so I was never really interested in it. Then one of my mates from school, this was when I was like young, like about 9ish, we went to Thai boxing. It was terrible. Went like once or twice, didn't like it. And then I remember I just wanted to. I joined an MMA gym when I was about 10 or 11. Just started as a bit of a hobby, but then it took off with it. Then fell in love with it. But other than that, now I've really got no. From when I was younger, I was never like into it from when I was little or nothing like that, to be honest.
Okay, and just out of interest, what position did you play in football?
Left back. I was never used to
Left
get played.
back.
Never used to get played. It was shite.
So are you a lefty?
Yeah, left-footed. Right-handed,
Okay.
left-footed.
Right, yeah, because I was going to say you take an orthodox style.
Yeah, I am right-handed, but kick off my lead leg mostly.
Interesting. Okay, perfect. So, Liam, did you have any heroes growing up or anyone that you looked up to?
To be honest, no, I'd be lying if I'd have to make someone up now. Not really. When I was a kid, just the sport as a whole. Like, obviously, I used to watch I remember I used to stay up when I was younger watching. I used to stay up and watch like Anderson Silva. I remember staying up to watch 24 Chris Weidman. So obviously, all the same people everyone else would say was my favourite fighters, because they were the best. But there's no one specifically like who I looked up to and idolized.
Sure. And what did you make of of Anderson Silva's antics against Chris Weidman?
Well, it was about 6 in the morning and my head fell off. But I do remember staying up and watching that.
Okay. And you mentioned it just earlier, Liam. You've been training martial arts since you were around 10 or 11. What actually got you into it? And what did you start off doing?
Well, I started just as a hobby when I stopped playing footy. I didn't do sport for a little bit, for about a year. I had a year off from sport, and then I just started putting a bit of weight on that, wanted to get back into something. And then I started off at Hammer with Sean Martin. I knew Sean through like family and stuff like that, and his gym was not too far from mine. So I ended up at Hammer. I was there for a few years, and then moved about 13, 14, 12 BT with Phil.
Okay. And how would you say martial arts has positively impacted and perhaps even changed your life, Liam?
Well, I used to be quite a clever kid in school, and then I was always wanted to go off and do something like university and stuff like that. When I was in like year 7, stuff like that, just started secondary school. Then when I started getting into training properly, it completely changed my life. I weren't bothered about school no more, just had my sights set on that. And then literally from like about year 7, I've just chased that stuff to it. It's starting to pay off now, like.
It really is. And you mentioned that you started martial arts purely as a hobby. So what was that moment that made you realize, right, I want to take up competitive action?
I'd done an interclub. I was just training, and then someone in the gym asked me, do I want to do an interclub, like a little MMA interclub? I went down, and I'd done decent salary. I was made up of myself, but yeah, I got used to this. So yeah.
And that's it.
From there, then I've done another few into clubs, and then it was just like training to compete. Then the training become a lot more serious then because I was doing it for the purpose.
Sure, you built up your confidence.
Yeah, that was a big like confidence boost for me, and then I enjoyed it as well. Like the adrenaline rush and that, like with like the feeling of fighting, it was nice. So from there, it took off.
Awesome. And you've been involved with your coaches, Phil, Dean, and Aaron since the Liverpool Vale Tudo days. As a collective, how good have they all been for your martial arts developments, but also your development from a young boy to a growing young man?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going to be a bit biased, but I think that they're the best coaching team. They've all like got a little like different bits that they can put into my game. Phil's like my main head coach. I've been with, like I said, I started with Phil when I was about 13 or 14, and I used to do like privates with him every week, and then he's put like a lot of time into me. It was funny speaking to Phil about it the other day, saying like all the stuff like over the years, like I'm still doing it now, stuff that like I might not have done, but like might not have done recently, but I've done it in a private 5 years ago. I'm still pulling it off now. So they've been like, and then Dean and Adam as well. Like they, as well, whilst they were coaching me as well, they've been training partners for me from when I was that age. You know what I mean? So got like a good relationship with all of them, and like I said, I think they're the best coaching team. When people like, I know I'm from their gym as well, but a lot of the times when we go, so like let's say we travel to train and stuff like that, like people realise as well when they get little bits off them, and then people want to come down to our gym. That happens a lot. They realise the level of coaching that we're getting down there.
Yeah. And talk to us about the MMA Industry Program aimed at 16 to 19-year-olds who have an appetite in becoming a MMA athlete, coach, or even referee. I believe you were part of the first group. How did that program help you get where you are today, Liam?
Well, I've got Dean and Phil to thank for that massively, because I remember the first chat we had about it was in LVT, and Phil and I were speaking about it, and I was like, yeah, nice that, because I've had the chance. Like, I didn't do it like to be a coach. Like, the coaching for me is to supplement my training. Like, I fell in love with that as well now. Like, I do enjoy my coaching, but I weren't doing it because I thought I'd be a coach. Like, I wanted to be a fighter, but there's nothing really you can do what lets you train like full time, like a professional. Like, I would have had to either go to college, and then it would have been, I had no money coming in, or I could have tried to get a job. Well, you got to stay in education now anyway, so I had to do something. So it was either go and do college and then get a job, and it would have just took me training hours off, but that just come at the perfect time. So I had that, the coaching supplemented me training, so I was getting money from privates and things like that, learning how to coach, and then that let me train full time as well, I think, which I think was the main thing for me. So since I was 16, I've been training like a professional, like twice a day, every single day, morning and night. So I'm lucky that come along. So I've got Dean and Phil to thank for that, and that's getting bigger every year, the course as well now.
Yeah. And how would you describe your fighting style, Liam, for anyone that hasn't seen you compete? And is there anyone that you model your game on at the moment?
I'd say skilled. I think a lot more skilled than most amateurs. Like, when I look at, like, when I watch them fight, like, there's loads of people, like loads of game people out there. There's loads of, like, someone who might be good in one area, but like I feel I'm skilled all around. Like, I can strike, I can wrestle. I'm a purple belt on the floor, and just a few black belts as well.
A true mixed martial artist.
I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm skilled everywhere, and I'm happy to fight anywhere as well.
Sure.
I don't really style myself off now when I'm thinking.
No?
Like, I like Khabib's one of my favourite fighters. I like his style. I think if you watch some of my fights, you could probably like a little B-Tech version of him, but no one in particular that like I look at him and think like, I don't want to fight like that. I'm my own fighter.
That's fair enough. And any advice you would give to someone preparing for their first competitive fight, Liam?
Consistency. Like, it's not that like your first fight, your second fight, that's not the be all and end all. Like, they're in the past for me now. Like, I don't even think about them. It's just about getting better as a fighter. Like, consistency is the main thing, and I've seen it with people in the gym. Like, if you just come in, you'll get good. If you're in there all the time, it pays off. Like, one of my training partners, Jake Grundy, he's like a big thing of that. Like, just turned up every day, and like, you might not even notice they're getting better, and it's like one day you just click and you look at them and they're like taking rounds off the proper fighters and things like that. And like Grundy's up there now with like coming up there with the best amateurs in the gym, so he's like a big example of that. Just be consistent. Don't be focusing on like this one fight like it's the be all and end all. Don't be doing it like you can have this one training camp and that's it. Just stick at it. Always in the gym. Always getting into every session that you can.
Yeah, that's good advice. And Jake's 3-1 at the moment, isn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, he's
3-1.
He's competing on the same UKFC cards in October.
Yeah, he's active at the minute as well. He was meant to be fighting last week, but the show got cancelled. But he's on the same show as me as well.
So now let's look at your flashlights and onto your first amateur MMA contest against Zach Frye at Almighty Fight Night 1 in Leeds. You featured after JJ, my guest on episode 9 of Flash Knockdown, who opened the show against your teammate, Brian Kenwright. It was a quick finish, getting the guillotine choke in less than a minute. Describe the feeling of winning and also in that fashion.
Yeah, it was nice. Like going into that fight, like I'd done a few big grappling comps leading up to it. So like I'd done the British Open, ADCC Nationals. Like there was a few that I'd done, and like I was flying in them. Like I didn't get a point scored on me in any of them. So going into that fight, I was confident. Like, and then after it as well, finishing quick, I was like, thought I was the boy for a little bit, but then a few fights out. But then I got a bit of a rude awakening after that. But yeah, it was a nice feeling. Zach's like at the time people might not have noticed because it was just like an 0-0 versus an 0-0. But like Zach's now like challenging the titles and stuff like that. So that's a big win for me to have as well.
Yeah, and it was nice to see the respect you both showed each other. You know, even though he was clearly disappointed with himself, it was nice to see that you went over to his corner and gave him a hug.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I could train with him now. He comes down to our gym and spars and that. So
yeah. And you even gave us a dab after.
Oh, don't bring that up. I did a few things after me fights and interviews and stuff like that. And I look back on now and regret it.
Fair enough. And then on to 2018, which I think it's fair to say was your breakthrough year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so far, busiest to date as far as MMA is concerned. So let's start firstly with the contest versus Sandro at UKFC 7 in Preston. Another first round finish, another by way of guillotine choke. Were you more satisfied with that finish or the one you got versus Zach?
Probably, I think Zach was a better win, but more satisfied with that fight because going into the Sandro fight, because like I said, after that fight with Zach, like I thought I was the boy. I'd not locked in jiu-jitsu. I was like, no, didn't have a point scored on me. I finished that fight in less than a minute. And then after that, I didn't fight for MMA for a little bit, but when I was competing jiu-jitsu, I was like I got a few silvers, a few bronzes. I started losing a little bit. And then I had 2 MMA fights that I lost on the bounce. One was a split decision and a 4-1. And then the next one I got armbarred. So like,
was that the one, the split decision that was against Louis Morcel?
Yeah,
that was close.
Close fight. It could have went either way. I thought, obviously I'm going to say that, aren't I? But I did think I won. A lot of people I spoke to as well after it, like non-biased people as well, not just from my gym, from gyms that like they don't even really get on with us. It's going up to me after and saying I won a fight, but not bitter over it. It's one of them, and it was a good fight. One of me, like I learned a lot from that. But like I said, I started like losing a little bit, and I started doubting myself a bit going into that Sandro fight. Like I was still only a young kid as well, so what I didn't realise at the time. Like it seemed so important then, but just as a 16-year-old kid, like I literally don't even think about none of that no more. But at the time, I was like, this fight, like everything to me. Yeah. So when I went in and finished it quick, it was more just like I was relieved because I knew what I could do. I was like in the gym. I was still like I felt like I was still very skilled at that point, but I weren't doing it in my fights, and then I feel like I clicked that fight.
Wow,
that was nice, big relief.
And that's really good advice for anyone starting out in the amateurs, that, you know, don't get too hung up on your losses and don't get too carried away with your wins.
Yeah, it all means nothing at amateur. Yeah. It's just learning. As I said, stay consistent with your training and get as many fights in as you can against like real fights as well. Like, every one of my fights has been a real fight, even like the people with like lesser records. They're not just turning up to get beat. Like I've had some tough people. I've had some of my harder fights have been against people with bad records, but they're in there to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Rather
because
than
they
someone
see
who
you.
comes.
Yeah, because they see you as the big fish.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's big for them, and they want it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you watch people and they come in with like a 5-0 record, they beat 5 bums, they have the first real fight and they just crumble. I've seen that loads of times. And that's not an actual fighter. I'd rather fight someone who's like got like an even record, but not just gonna quit after a few shots, but staying in there. I mean, I've had a few of them fights.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Liam. And you mentioned a couple of the setbacks, Liam. Just explain the confidence you got from that Sandro fight, because since then you've remained unbeaten in 7 domestic fights.
Yeah, well, and my only loss since then was another split decision at the IMAS, which I think I won as well. So I think that was a decision that I definitely should have won as well. So like I feel like I'm not really lost since that fight. I feel like I just clicked that night, like I was saying before about being consistent, and then something just clicks that you'll see with some people. It was the same thing when I was fighting. Like I competed a lot, but I feel like it never clicked. Like that night, I felt like when I was in there, it felt like natural. You know what I mean? So, and then from then onwards, every fight after that, I've had that same feeling. I'm calm in there.
Good. So let's now fast forward 4 months and look at the bouts versus Sam Gittins at UKFC 8, also in Preston. Physically, there was an obvious difference between the two of you. Could you feel it when you were in there with him?
Yeah, I was still a kid, and him and his brother Liam, they're both known for being like physical fighters. They're strong, and they just put a horrible pace out. They're like the gritties, you know what I mean? So I think I'd just turned 17 going into that fight. Like when I look back at the pictures, still just like a little scrawny kid. So like I done, and I thought that's a big win for me. That big win, because like it's not just like beating him as an amateur anyway. They're good wins, but when you're doing it as still a kid, and he's a fully grown man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a good win to have. And it was the way I beat him as well. Like they're known for being like grinders, you know what I mean? Stay in there, and like I outdone him, like you know what I mean? Put a pace on him.
You did. And the trips were very effective for you, weren't they?
Yeah, well, most of my fights, I'm used to like getting in on doubles and giving people airtime. And when I remember the first time I grabbed him, went to lift him up, and he weren't moving. He was like a little block.
You couldn't do it.
So I had to go switch it up a little bit, go to like more simple takedowns.
Yeah, you had to adjust your game.
Yeah, I had to adjust in the fight. Like my fights before that, I was used to was on a double leg coming up, and just started lifting him. He's like a little power cube, and he just wouldn't cross the floor.
Yeah. And I've got to ask, in the second round, Liam, you managed to get him into a rear naked. Did he tap?
I'll say he did. I'm sure at the time I did think he did.
Right.
And looking back on the video, I'm not sure. It's not for me to say, though, he might have been reaching for my glove, but I don't know. But on the video, it looks like there's a clear tap. But my arms were so dead, like couldn't even explain how. Because like I'm resting, I'm a kid resting with a fully grown man. Like after the first round, like my arms were like literally, I was struggling. So when I had the squeeze, I was holding them more. At the start, it was tight, and then I did think there was a tap. I felt like I eased up a little bit, and then when I went to squeeze again, it was just nothing there. I was just holding them. It was a bit of a mad one, but it's one of them, innit? I'm glad the fight didn't get stopped. I learned more from getting that extra round in, because I had to dig deep in that last round.
You really did.
I'm glad it went the way it did.
Yeah, and then so on that note, then Liam, between rounds 2 and 3, Sam's head coach Andy Brocklebank was making it clear to Sam that you had run out of steam as a way of getting into your heads, and of course motivating his guy. I'm guessing you noticed that, and if so, what impact did that have on you?
Yeah, he's a vocal coach. I knew that anyway.
Yeah.
Like our team, he's vocal, and when when you're fighting, you can hear him. Remember in the second round, I was on his back, and he was screaming. I was right in his corner. He was screaming. I was thinking at the time, I just want to tell him to shut up here, but I didn't have the balls. Yeah,
because he was saying, pass his guard. Yeah,
he was screaming, and I think if it was happening now, I would be confident enough to just look up and say something to him. But at the time, I was thinking, I don't want to do that, then lose. But I've got rid of all them thoughts now. But I wanted to say that, and then I remember going into the third, but all that where he was like shouting, but nothing fazed me when I'm in there, and I'd never quit. Like I think they thought like I might have crumbled or something like that. I come out stronger that round. You can see it in the video as well. Like I'm like pushing my corner out the way. I always like get to the middle before them, just like a mental game, and I was absolutely as well. But The thing is, like, the fights, you got to remember, they always are as well, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. You closed the last rounds in very dominating fashion, locking in the body triangle and almost finishing the contest via rear naked choke. Pretty impressive against a guy whose wins have all been by rear naked choke. What was the biggest takeaway for you?
like I said, the way I beat him, like, I weren't meant to win that fight. I feel like I'm a lot more skilled than him, but it was like a man versus a boy. But I managed to use my skill in the right way as well, and I almost beat him in his own game. So I'm still, even when that's a win, I can look back on and be proud of.
Yeah, I would agree. And then 6 weeks later, you took on Curtis Campbell at Cage Warriors Academy, Northwest 4 in Liverpool. How soon after the Sam fight was the offer of taking on Curtis put to you?
That fight was already confirmed. So I think I was confirmed to fight Curtis before I was meant to fight Sam. So it was a bit of a mad one. Like, I was meant to be, I was confirmed to fight Curtis not long after the Sandro fight. And then I was meant to be fighting someone else my age on UKFC in October, with the one that I fought Sam on. And a week before, the kid pulled out, and Sam was meant to be fighting, and he had to pull out as well. So it was a bit of a mad one. It was my first time fighting like a proper man, but I took it anyway. And then the Curtis fight was 6 weeks after that, but that was already confirmed, so I knew I was fighting Curtis anyway.
I see, because Curtis also fought on that same cards at
Yeah,
UKFC.
that's what I remembered. I knew I was fighting him, so he was the first fight, I think, so I remember watching that.
Yeah, he opened the show. That's correct. And I guess the decision was made easier when you found out that there was a belt on the line. Were you more nervous or excited ahead of that particular fight, Liam?
Like, I don't really get nervous about them fights. Like, in the moments when you're about to walk out and stuff like that, you get the nerves. But just like that, I get them up to fights like them. Like, that's what, like, wakes me up in the morning. I like that. Like, I feel like the fights that I've had where I've been fighting someone like who I don't, training camps aren't as good. The fight, like big fights like that, especially when there's belts on the line and stuff like that, then
Yeah,
go and I
that's
like
what it's
it.
about, isn't it?
That's what you
what
do
it's
it for.
about. Yeah,
So
yeah. Love
I don't
that.
get when it gets confirmed, I'm not like worrying about it. It's like, go fight camp.
Yeah, true that. And JJ, who I mentioned earlier, he fought Marlon that day for the junior flyweight strap. He described both matchups as great matchmaking. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was. Well, like, this was the same thing with like the Zach Frye win at the time. It might not have looked like a big win, or if people look back on my record, they might not see it and be like, because it brings what their record was at the time up, and it might have been like 1-0 or something like that. So people will just look past that. But if you're looking at it for like skill wise, that's why that fight got made. It was a title fight, but we'd only probably had like 4 or 5 fights between us, me and Curtis, maybe less. But like, people knew how like both of us were skilled, and same with Marlon and JJ. They fought before, like, people could look at them like they're 2 skilled kids, like, and it's good that all 4 of us took the fights. That's how it should be, taking hard fights.
Yeah, I agree. And it would be remiss if I didn't ask your take on Marlon's fight with JJ. What did you make of it?
Well, I couldn't really watch it at the back. I hate it when I'm like after my teammate, because I can't help but watch. I've done it at the last show. Like, I was at the next fight, and I'm stood there looking through the door, watching the fight, and like, I'm fighting next. It was the same thing with Marlon. Man, I end up, you can't not watch it. But yeah, it was a tough fight. I think Marlon probably underestimated him a little bit. He said that himself, like, because the first fight wasn't really too close. He kind of just walked through him. Second fight though, got to give it to JJ. He showed up, you know what I mean? And like, I think Marlon gassed a little bit. JJ turned up, but Marlon, like I said, he's the same as me. He's not going to quit because it gets hard. He's stuck in there and seeing it through.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So following that Curtis fight, Liam, would you say getting your first taste of MMA gold made you hungry for more?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I knew it, like, that was when I started realising, like, I'm at that level now. I remember when I used to be a little kid watching the shows, watching title fights, like, and they were bossed people winning them, and then I'd got my first one, and it was a big one as well. So I started to realise, like, this is the level I'm at now. And that's just more motivation, like. After that, most of my fights were against like adults then, all of them. So like a bit of a kick up the arse. Like, I've got, especially when you got a belt as well, people come after you. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a target on me back then because of that. So it just makes you train harder.
That's correct. Great attitude, Liam. Love it. So then on your return after injury, you moved up to featherweight against Sikia from Belgium. at AFC 12 in Liverpool. He seemed very confident, but that was soon dampened when he heard all of those boos.
The record of 3 wins and 3 defeats, representing Da Vinci Fighting, Sinkir and his opponent stands.
How good does it feel to hear those cheers and supports? And do you think you'll miss that if you potentially have to compete in front of no crowd?
Oh, like all my mates are vocal when you go to the shows. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Even when I'm not fighting, you'll hear them. They just come up with all mad shouts, and that's funny.
McCraken. McCraken.
It's nice having them there, but like that's just before and after the fight. Like in the actual fight, it doesn't make a difference to me. When I'm walking out, I can hear it and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a good feeling, and I like going to see them all before the fight. And then that feeling when you win after it, and you get to go out and like you feel like you're the man and you get to see everyone. That's a boss feeling. But when it comes down to it, when you're actually fighting, none of that matters. Like I'm not thinking about like people in the crowd, so it doesn't affect the fight. Obviously, it affects like partying and stuff after it and stuff like that. But
yeah,
in the moment for the fight, now it's not going to make a difference. Obviously, I hope people will be there, but if not, then it's not going to affect the fight.
True. And then you got the armbar locked in with 10 seconds to go in a fight you were going to win anyway. However, if you had another 10 seconds at the end of the second round, do you feel you would have finished it then?
Yeah, that was tight, that armbar. What I was saying before, like about the records and that he's like a prime example of it, that kid. Like, took a beating him, he was doing me. I didn't like, there was no way he was going to win. Like, the first 2 rounds with 10-8, put a proper beating on him. And like the third round, he come out and was still giving me shit. I was like, oh, stop it. He was a tough kid, him. So I had to give it to him, but I wanted to get that finish. So I didn't know if I got it as well, because as I finished the armbar, it was tight as well. I felt his arm popping, and he tapped, but the 10-second clap, the 10-second clacker went.
Yeah.
But I didn't know whether that was the bell. So I stood up and said to the ref, I said, does that count as a finish? And he was like, yeah.
Wow, really? I didn't notice that.
I thought it was the bell that went, so I didn't know, but he said, yeah, so I was made up with that. Was a big finish.
Wow, how lucky is that? Okay. So then now let's look at the fights versus Justin Flanagan at Pro Bellum, which was exactly a year ago. Yeah. Yeah. You seemed determined to show everyone that you weren't just a grappler, but someone who could strike too. How satisfied were you with your work on the feet that evening?
This was one of my favourite performances, because like another thing with the records, like if you watch Justin training, you watch his fights, like he's a top level fighter. His record might not show it, but if he was more active, he'd definitely be up there. His gym is one of the best gyms in the UK, like probably top 3 as well, the higher level. Their coaching team, and that's good. So like, I know how good he is because I went off from fighting him. So when I can look back and see the performance, because he's like a good level striker, he's a striker as well. Everyone come into that fight thinking I was a grappler, and most of the fight was on the feet, and I managed to get the win. So I was made up with that. It was a good fight as well.
Yeah, it was good. And seeing your face on the big screen, how sick was that?
Loved it.
It was good, isn't it? We're gonna run this town tonight.
Well, the atmosphere is always, anytime I fight in it, I've fought there a few times, the atmosphere is always boss there.
It was good. Yeah, very nice. Wow. And then you also proved that you could take some shots. How much confidence did you take from that? Yeah,
I like that fight, like, I've kind of like just, like some of my camps last year, I look back and think I didn't deserve to win them, because I was like partying that in between camps. I've stopped all of that now, like, and being like serious about it. But like, I went in with kind of a thing like, I probably don't deserve to win this anyway. I just gotta go in and go for it. And that's what I did that night. I weren't bothered about like, say, I felt solid when I was getting kicked and stuff like that. Like, stuff was bouncing off me. He hit hard. I remember, I think when I come out from that fight, I had massive lumps on my arms. Thought I broke both my arms because I had big, massive coggies on them. But like, yeah, I learned I can take a shot from that, because that's again, he was a proper man. I was 17 I think I was 17 at the time, and he was like, probably I think he was late 20s. You know what I mean? So it's like the same again. It's man versus boy, and I'm taking a fully going man shot. I didn't get hurt, nothing like that. So it was good confidence boost. which I
Yeah,
needed for my next 2 fights as well, because I fought 2 knockout artists and no one out after that. So it was nice to have that thing. Like, I can say, I know I can take a shot.
definitely. And a rather unusual event happened at the start of the first round in that the lights went off. So the fight had to be stopped for a moment. Did that impact your flow or concentration at all, Liam?
No, like once I'm in them, like I'm good at stuff like that, like keeping my head in it. Like once I'm in there, like I'm on it, I can switch on. I remember they went off and I didn't know what had happened. I don't think he did
No
as
one
well.
did.
Like I know, like I don't think we noticed that the lights were off though, because from where we was, it didn't really change much. So I didn't know what had happened. I was like, have I done something here? Something happened. I started panicking, and then when I realised that it was the lights, I remember just looking like it was like a minute went by. I started going cold. I just looked at the record like we can see each
Yeah.
other, can't we? And then he gave me a little laugh. It was good fun, that fight. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then Jake Grundy, before that particular fight, Liam, he gave you some advice, which you literally took on with 30 seconds to go. And that was to bite down on your gum shields, chin down and swing. Seemed like you're having a lot of fun at the end.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
The fighter, isn't he? So I've got to just what he says goes. If he tells me to do that, then I'm swinging. But like I said before, that fight, like, I enjoyed that in the moment. Like that was probably the most I've enjoyed the fight when I'm in there. Like I was having fun whilst I was fighting. So I was 2 rounds up as well in my head, and I'm just scorecard. So I was, but I don't know what happened. I just thought, I'm enjoying this. Let's just do it. That's 30
Would you do that
seconds.
again?
Yeah, when at the right time though. Like I remember when I fought Frye, which we'll probably get onto in a sec. I was 4 rounds up then, and he's like known for knocking people out. And I remember there was like 20 seconds left. I basically had the fight won. And he looked at me and pointed down. So I was like, go on, and then took him down. Like that. But yeah, at the right time, yeah. There's a time and place for it, isn't there? But you'll feel like yourself. Like sometimes you just feel like I'm not. There's nothing that's gonna stop me now. Don't I mean? Like if you take a shot, sometimes you feel like invincible when you're fighting. But there's other times as well like that where I thought this is not worth the risk.
Sure. Not sure if you
In
remember.
the moment, it felt right.
Yeah, no, it did feel right, and it looked bloody good. One of those
People enjoyed
moments
it,
you
so-
can look back. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those moments you can look back on and say, "Look at me, I'm a badass." But it reminded me of Max Holloway versus Ricardo Lamas at UFC 199.
Yeah, I'm seeing that one. Yeah,
Yeah, the last 10 seconds where they both like Max was like, "Let's go now."
yeah,
And
because
then
we
they
were
were just
talking a bit
swinging.
through the fight and that. And then in the
Yeah.
last round as well, shot ended up on me back. Like he stood up, and I was telling him, "Come here."
Yeah, you did. Come here.
He
Yeah.
put the finger up to me, and
Yeah.
put the finger up back. And then when I stood up, then that was when I was started feeling like, this is good fun. This, and then I remember he booted me, and it proper foot to the elbow, and I know how much that hurt. So I just looked at him, pointed at him, and was like, that hurt that.
Yeah.
And then we just started speaking a little bit, and then it's just like, come on, that's last 10, let's go. Good fun.
Brilliant. Love that. Amazing. Lucky you. And then finally, let's take a look at your matchup with an experienced and dangerous Frye, who's obviously a good friend of yours now, for the UKFC featherweight strap, which you've since gone on to defend.
Yeah.
A man who has a reputation of finishing fights, and no better example than his previous one at UKFC 11, where he ended it with a head kick knockout. To nullify that, the game plan seemed to be to close the distance immediately, take him down, and then control him on the ground. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, like, I knew Corey, but like going into that fight anyway, and like I remember it like when I was, he'd had that UKFC title for ages when I was still fighting like flyweight and bantamweight. I remember watching his fights. So and he's Zach Frye's brother as well, isn't he? So like I'd fought his little brother and things like that. So it was like a good bit of a story going into it. And yeah, that last fight where he knocked that fella out, I was watching that because Marloes was fighting. I remember watching like serious knockout that. I've like haven't trained with him now though. Like he's like a high level striker. So like yeah, the game plan was to. I didn't go in no thinking I'm just gonna take him down. But in the moment, like I said, what feels right, I'll do. I'm skilled. Like as you seen in the fight, I was skilled enough to strike with him. Still, there was moments where it was on the feet and I weren't getting lit up. And a lot of the exchanges, it was 50-50. I'd win an exchange, he'd win an exchange. But yeah, like when it's not just about playing to my strengths, it's about playing to their weaknesses. So as like at the first round, I took him down and just controlled it, rid it out on the back, and was like, yeah, feel like I've got a big advantage in the grappling. So I went to that the next 2 rounds, but then the 4th and 5th, once it was like a bit slippy and both of us were tired, then that's when it was more of a fight. Then the last 2 rounds, I had to dig deep them rounds. Got hurt a little bit in the last round as well. Like, you can watch his fight. He's probably one of like the hardest. He's got like scary power. Like when he hits you, you feel it. And he's knocked a lot of people out as well. I think he's obviously got that confidence as well. When you do that to people, like he knows he can do that. So in the 5th round, I remember like
we're just waiting for the moment where McCraken sees that opportunity.
Oh, and he's caught him twice there, and now McCraken shoots in
on the takedown.
He done like a little lay back backhand and caught me. I bounced off the cage and just like as I bounced off a shot and got him down. But little moments like that, like I can look back on that, like other people might have crumbled. He might have took that shot and it's hurt them and been like curled up in a ball. You know what I mean? But I was desperate to win that fight, so I was stuck in there and seeing it through. They're just like little lessons that I've got with me now. So when I'm fighting, you know what I mean? Like I know I've been in them places before. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Lucky jar, as Ben Crawley would say.
Lucky jar, yeah. Creepy Crawley.
Ghost Goggins.
David Goggins talking about it, of the cookie jar, of where it's all of the achievements that you've obviously achieved in the past, and you put them all into this cookie jar, and you can't see what's inside it. So when you're out or you're in difficult times, no matter how they relate, so it might be like, okay, I'm struggling on a 10-mile run today. So you dip in and you pull out, okay, I've run a marathon before, so I know that I've still got this in me.
And then prior to the fight, he told Brian Lacey that he felt his experience and size would see him through. Were you aware of those comments beforehand, Liam?
Nah, I didn't know that till I watched the fight back with the commentary, but I knew that's what they're thinking anyway. That's what I'd be thinking if I was like a man fighting someone who, like, if let's say I think he's like 24, 25, I was that age fighting an 18-year-old, then it's not him thinking it as well. Like, he has got physical advantages on me, obviously, but that doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care about that. It's not all about that, is it? It's not like we're not weightlifting. It's not about just being like stronger and things like that. And I'm experienced as well. Like, I'm not just experienced as in I've had a lot of fights, because someone might have 8 fights and 8 first-round finishes. I've had fights where I've had to dig deep. I know that feeling. You know what I mean? I've finished people quick. I've been finished myself. I know what that's like. I've had to do 5 rounds. I've done a lot of things within my amateur career now where being experienced doesn't just mean I've had a lot of fights, because that's not what it's about. Experience is like having experience, like certain moments in a fight and things like that, I think. Yeah.
And how did it feel to be crowned champion at the end?
That was the best. That was like probably one of the best nights of my life. That feeling, like, because he was like one of the most respected people as well. So like, it was a big win. No one would fight him. Like, when people see him knocking people out like that, he said like he couldn't get a fight. I was the only one who stepped up. So to get a win like that, where, you know, everyone like respected, it was a nice feeling. And people like, he's one of them names where you say, people like, yeah, it's a good win, that. So they're always the best wins to have. And I've got a few of them now. People like Curtis, Zach, where I can look back and be like, Justin as well, like good wins.
Yeah, would you say that's the best career win for you, Liam, so far? Yeah,
definitely. It's my favourite fight as well. It was like 5 rounds.
5 rounds.
There was nice moments striking, good moments grappling. Like, there was everything. You know
everything,
I mean?
Yeah. True that. And then I have to give it up to the sportsmanship shown by Corey, asking Jake if he could put the belt around your waist. That was classy. What did you think of that?
Yeah, he's a sound fella, Corey. You knew that going into it as well. Like, there was respect between us, even when I'd see him like at the weigh-ins and stuff like that. Like, I was sound with him anyway. So I think he said to me after the fight as well, like, he respected me a lot because it was the first time he felt like he'd been beaten properly. Like, his other fight that he'd lost, he felt like he fucked up, and like, which is probably true. Like, he'd get caught or something like that. Whereas he said with that, he felt like outskilled. So I was like, that's how it should be when you lose. You just gotta take it on the chin and shake the hand. Well done, innit?
Yeah, it was class. And I've also saw a picture of you two in the changing rooms.
Yeah, I had actually come into the back, had a good convo with him after him, and then that's when we started saying about coming down doing some training. Now every Friday he's down at our gym. He's like one of my main sparring partners now. When he comes down, I always get a few rounds with him. Good rounds as well. That's how it should be though, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
no reason to be any animosity. It's amateur. I'm getting more. I've fought him now. I'm getting more out of using him to train. You know what I mean? I mean, but it's same for both of us. Good
Yeah, and vice
for each
versa.
other, so yeah, we might as well use each other now.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good. So before we look at your Flash Fives, and as mentioned at the start of the show, Liam, you're currently getting ready to make that walk again soon. Do you want to share with the viewers who you'll be fighting and your take on your opponent, please?
Yeah, so 3 weeks today, 3rd of October, fighting on UKFC in Preston again. I'm going up a weight to lightweight, doing a champion versus champion fight. So I'm fighting the lightweight champion, Teddy Stringer. Good kid, like similar age to me. He's like another, like he's almost like the me of that division. You know what I mean? Like he's the young kid who's like he's got the belts, people respect him. So I'm going up a weight to fight him. He's a good opponent, Teddy, as well. I know him. I'm looking. This is one of them fights where since I've found out about it, it's been motivated, training hard. So I'm looking forward to it. Not he is as well. I know I went to Bahrain. When I went to Bahrain, both of us were on Team England. So we both got robbed in the first round as well. So we had a few little nights out and that together. So he's a good kid, but I'm gonna have to get it, isn't he?
Yeah, well, you know, it's business, as they say.
That's it.
It's just business. That's all it is. And you know, you mentioned you'll be moving up to lightweight to face Teddy at UKFC. And as a result, you've been doing a lot of strength and conditioning work with Dan Mitten. Do you want to share the kind of work you've been doing to bulk up, Liam?
Yeah, well, Dan's being like the big addition to my game. He's the person who I think is going to take me to the next level. Like, it's all good. Like, the thing about being skilled and that, I think that's the main thing, but you need that, like, physicality and that to back you. Like, if you look in the UFC, some of the fighters, like, you aren't that skilled, but they're making a career out of being, like, strong and things like that. So if you can combine the two, the skill and the physical work, which Dan's perfect with as well, like he knows, like he's like done like a nice program for this camp where I'm getting enough hours on the mat, but I'm also getting all my work in with him. So I do it like he does everything. Like he's a movement coach as well as like he's doing all my strength and things like that as well. So 2 sessions a week I'm doing strength work and like plyo work, stuff like that, and then 1 day a week I'm doing movements as well, so like just stretching makes you feel good after it. So, but I just show up and do what he says. Like I don't have a clue about it or me, but I'll just turn up and do it. But he knows what he's on about, and I'm seeing the differences as well. My body's changed a lot just through this one camp. Like, I'm walking around it I'm quite heavy at the minute. Not heavy for lightweight, but like I'm a good weight. But like usually if I'd be this weight, I'd be quite fat. So like, if I was fighting a featherweight and I'd be this weight, I'd be quite like, I'd just be out of shape really, but I'm that weight now and like in shape, fit as I've been, so it's nice. Looking forward to showing everyone.
Yeah, I can see in the pictures, you're really bulking up.
Big, aren't
I? yeah, but bulking up in the right way.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, like I said, I just leave it to them and listen to what they're saying, but eating things nice as well. Obviously I'm able to, because I'm doing lightweight, I'm able to eat a lot. Nice. Looking forward to me next one at featherweight.
Sure. And has your diet changed much, or is it still pretty much the same?
Dieting's my worst thing, to be honest, out of everything. Like I'm not very clued up, and obviously I know things, but like I'm a bit of a fat bastard, to be honest. But, like, I'm eating clean, but I'm eating a lot. But yeah, it's going nice. I can't wait to fight now. Like, feel good.
Sure. One thing at a time, I guess.
That's it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for that, Liam. So, for anyone not familiar, Liam, I will ask you 5 questions, and once again, you just give me your best answer.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Okay. So, number 1, Liam, who would you love to compete against, either dead or alive?
Grundy. Money fight, isn't he?
Jake Grundy, yeah? Fair enough. Your ideal way to finish an opponent?
Still waiting for this one. Big knockout. I don't care what it's with, but it's coming as well. Like I'm feeling in the gym now. I'm hitting a lot harder, especially like now I'm going up a weight and I'm becoming a man now. that's what Dan's saying when I'm doing the sessions. Like, this is man making. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel it when I'm sparring. People will tell you as well. When I'm hitting the it's just, I'm starting to hear people. So that's defo coming. Nice knockout.
Nice. The best combat sports fight you've seen, Liam?
Diego Sanchez versus Gilbert Melendez. Probably not the best, not technical, like, but that was my favourite fight when I remember when I was a kid. It was like a sick little highlight video of it on YouTube. I used to always watch that. That was probably the most exciting fight I've seen.
Yeah, and I think he's fighting tonight, Diego Sanchez.
Is he? He's
still fighting.
Soon, really.
yeah. He's still fighting, man, taking those shots and giving some as well. What superpower would you choose to have, Liam?
One punch knockout power. Oh, no, don't have that. But it'll come one day, hopefully.
Okay. And finally, Liam, the best finish to a fight you've seen?
Like in the UFC, I'd probably say Yair Rodriguez when he fought the Korean Zombie, just because like how it went and that. But then probably one of my teammates, Sheldon. If you've ever seen that knockout, Sheldon Reed, when he done a seat to the face.
Yeah.
But like local, definitely that, and then just circumstance-wise, probably the Yair one.
Nice answers. Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Liam. So that brings us to the end of the show. How did you find the experience overall?
That was good, mate. Enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it? Good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it too. Well, and I hope you viewers enjoyed it and enjoyed hearing Liam speak. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining Liam and I on episode 11 of Flash Knockdown. And as Bruce Buffer said, the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to Liam.
Nice one, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Thank you.